All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out. Good to see all of y'all. Before we kick things off, just a few announcements. First, just a general introduction about what Humanists of Houston is. I know we have some newcomers here who are may not be familiar with our organization. So, Humanists of Houston is we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization which is dedicated to promoting the principles of secular humanism. So whether you consider yourself humanists, atheists, agnostics, skeptics, freethinkers, or even deists, our goal is to provide events which promote humanistic principles, such as reason, ethics, science, and critical thinking. And we advocate a worldview based on living ethical, meaningful lives without any recourse to the supernatural, or any expectation of supernatural punishment or reward. Some of our prior speakers have included Herb Silverman, President and founder of Secular Coalition of America. He ran for governor of South Carolina as an open atheist, back when it was actually not legal to run for public office in that state without believing in the existence of a higher power. We've had Zach Copeland, student activist who's campaigned nationally ever since he was in high school in Louisiana, where he fought against creationist legislation in the public school system. He's also had numerous national appearances, including recent appearances on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher and the Bill Moyers Show. And just last month, we had the free thought activist, Kay Staley, who was the Freedom from Religion Foundation's Freethinker of the Year for 2008. And she challenged successfully the Bible monument at the Harris County Courthouse here in downtown Houston. So to see our full calendar of our events, all you got to do is just go to the meetup.com website, search Humanists of Houston, and you can sign up there, join us free of charge. You'll get notifications of all of our events throughout the month. We also have Facebook groups. Again, just search Humanists of Houston at Facebook, as well as on YouTube, where we have numerous prior events all uploaded and available for viewing for free of charge. So, so with that said, I'd like to introduce Julie Ebersol. She is our volunteerism coordinator, who is going to talk a little bit about some of our volunteerism efforts.
Switch. You know what, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to switch sides. Thanks. That way I won't mess with the cord. Hi everyone, I wrote myself a few notes to make sure I mention everything I intended to. As Vic said, my name's Julie Ebersol, and I'm the outreach coordinator for the Humanists of Houston. So the first thing I was going to mention on is our last volunteering event was another hit. On Friday, April 26th, we were out at the Houston Food Bank main warehouse again. So Vic has started a few pictures scrolling from there. The warehouse is a really large operation where they can take up to 150 people per shift. We had 14 people last Friday, and combined with all the other volunteers who were willing to give up partying on a Friday night, there were about 60 people there. So we do things like move packaged food that's been donated into categories. We sort the good food from the expired food, and we categorize it, and that tends to go to their emergency pantry. So if you want to check out any of those photos, they're all on our Meetup site. The next event we have scheduled is going to be on Friday, May 31st, and it's an afternoon shift. I'm trying to move the times around to give more of the people a chance to volunteer. And of course, if anyone has any ideas or times that would work for you and you're interested in volunteering, get on Meetup and let me know. But this shift is on a Friday afternoon from 1 to 4, and it's at a new location. The Keegan Kitchen is another building, it's another facility of the Houston Food Bank. And there they prepare either hot or frozen meals that go out to a variety of their programs, such as the Homeless U.S. Vets program, Meals on Wheels, and they run a kids cafe, which is a program to feed meals to children both during the school year and in the summer. So that's what we'll be doing on Friday, and I hope everybody can make it out to Meetup to sign up for that as well. There's also another event coming up, which is another blood drive on Sunday, June 2nd. There's also a Meetup event for that. That one's being organized by Stephanie Westbrook, so if you head out there and sign up, then she'll know to contact you. Now I see Stephanie, so if you're interested in the blood drive at all, you can see her for all the details. All right, I'm going to shift gears here for a moment, since our membership secretary is traveling today. And I just want to mention that if you need any details on how to find our Meetup website, they're all on this flyer available on the table. And I'm also going to mention, financially supporting the group. This is an all-volunteer organization, so everything we do is, of course, volunteering. And some of the regular expenses that we have are things like printing flyers, printing name tags. Those t-shirts for sale back there are actually at cost, so we're not trying to make any profit on the t-shirt. We're just trying to get advertising to get the group name out there. And also it's nice when we go volunteering, we wear the shirts. It often generates a conversation when people ask me, what is a humanist? And so, you know, the general fund, the operating fund, also goes to cover things like the shipping, just to get the t-shirts ordered. There is also a long-term development fund, and we tend to keep those separate. These funds have been collected for several years, and they're actually invested separately in a dedicated fund that has not been tapped for years. It's currently sitting at over 15,000, the stock market being what it is, doing well these days. So I just wanted to point out that this development fund is overseen by a separate board of trustees, and we're holding it in trust for the day when we can, for example, put together our own building instead of meeting in a community space like this. We could do things like sponsor scholarships to national meetings if people think that's appropriate. But I just wanted to point out that we have both the development fund and we have the general operating expenses fund. If anybody feels so moved, I'm going to pass this around, and if you're interested in donating to the development fund, that's the difference between the two boxes. Right. Thanks a lot, everyone. That's everything I had. So I'll bring Vic back up to introduce our main speaker.
Humanist note first. Humanist.
Well, Vic will explain it all.
Okay, so our guest speaker today is Faisal Saeed Al-Mutar, the founder of the global secular humanist movement. Faisal was born and raised in Iraq, where he lived as an open atheist in the Middle East while writing openly about humanism and secularism for publications such as Big Think, The National Post, and Secular World. While in Iraq, he also founded the Global Secular Humanist Movement, a Facebook group which as of today has over 186,000 followers. It's grown by about 10,000 just since we scheduled this event just a couple weeks ago. So as a result of these activities, as well as other views that Faisal expressed openly while in the Middle East, Faisal received death threats, which resulted in him seeking asylum in the United States, where he now resides right here in Houston, Texas. So please welcome our very special guest speaker today, Faisal Saeed Al-Mutar.
Gosh, it feels good to be surrounded by an American flag, I guess. Thank you all for being here, really. I mean, wow, I didn't expect that. And can you please give a round of applause for Vic for organizing this event? I mean, really. Vic was the first, like, humanist I met in America. Like, he actually found me from my page. I was like, wow, I'm not in America. It feels great. So actually, I actually prepared a speech a few weeks when the event scheduled, but because of the recent events that happened in Iraq, I said that maybe I should start with what's going on and keep you updated with the current events, because that's what I mostly do, keep you with. Like, during just the last 2 weeks, actually, 3,000 people were killed. And I think that there is a huge misunderstanding about what's going on. Like, Iraq has been on the news all the time, but it seems like few people who actually understand what's going on. So I'm gonna give you a little brief about myself. As Vic mentioned, I was born in Babylon, and we moved early to Baghdad when I was like 8 years old. I spent the first half of my life, I'm 21 by the way, I spent the first half under Saddam Hussein. So, and the second half, after the United States intervention, I'll give you a brief about what's like life under Saddam Hussein and what's like life after Saddam Hussein. So, the moment you are born, I was born on 16th of June. 17th of June, they issue you a birth certificate. And the birth certificate, I actually uploaded it on my website, so in case Donald Trump will say I was born in Kenya, I was not. So I was, one day after you were born, they put your religion and your allegiance to Saddam. Just one day after you are born. You are born to be the property of the state. There is no distinguish between Saddam and Iraq. You are born to be a follower of Saddam Hussein. He owns you since you are born and has the right to do everything to you. He can kill you, he can torture you, he can send you to wars without your acceptance, and that's how you should accept. Everything was controlled from media into everything you want to think about. Telecommunication was all controlled by the media, by the government. You cannot call internationally. The country was very close. In order for you to get a passport, you need to kiss so many asses. And it's only allowed for people who are supportive of him. You're not allowed to access international television. You're not allowed to see any television outside of Iraq. And there were only 2 major televisions in which Saddam Hussein showed up 12 hours on the television. That you have to see him every day speaking nonsense about things that don't matter and how great he is and how evil the Americans and the Jews are. This is all in the media. Let's speak about the education system. I started my education starts in Iraq at the age of 7. The first thing you do at school, the first thing they teach you. So you go as a kid to the school, and the teacher comes in, and you have to stand up and say, "Long live Saddam Hussein, may God protect him." You have to say that every day you go to school. Every Friday you have to raise the Iraqi flag and praise Saddam Hussein and say, when I was born it was after what he called the faith campaign he started, in which we have to recite verses from the Quran which is filled with hatred and bigotry against the infidels or the great Satan, which is the United States of America. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be part of this great Satan, actually. So that is the first part of my life. And obviously it was Iraq under sanctions, and I spoke about the economical factors and stuff in my previous speech in Oasis. You can check it because I want to save time on this. So the second part is the United States came. That is I think one of the most controversial walls in human history. I personally am from there. I have not yet formed a fully comprehended opinion on this, but let me tell you, I will tell you things as they are, and while you are humanists and rationalists, you can think for yourself accordingly. So, the United States came in. That was the fall of Saddam Hussein was the 9th of April 2003, and a few days later, the Civil War happened, and this is what I spoke when I started the speech about. The 3,000 people killed this month is the continuum of that civil war. Since the United States came in, the country went into a chaos. What is the cause of the chaos? Does anyone have a suggestion here? Anyone
Religion.
Sunni versus Shia.
Sectarian strife.
Here we go. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni. And before Saddam Hussein, there was also previous Sunni leader and previous Sunni leader. And it goes on this. During the last 100 years, it was all Sunnis. Shias, who make up the majority of Iraq, 60%, have been oppressed enormously by Saddam Hussein. The war happened, the revenge became. We are not going to share power with you. And both sides of the fight, the 2 devils of extremism, as they're called, have formed militias. The Sunnis have their own militias, and the Shias have their own militias. And the peak of the peak of the civil war started in 2005, when a mosque in Samarra was blown up. I don't know if you have heard the news on this. That was, I still remember the exact day, because the next day I woke up, I saw the streets that I used to go to school filled with dead bodies. Then like, I used to go to school by bus. So because that day, the bus has to stop near the dead bodies, and I had to walk on the dead bodies to go to my school. I want you to think of that. This is how the civil war in Iraq will actually, this is the situation that's happening right now, is exactly what was happening during these years. This situation started from 2005 until 2008. This is my school years, by the way. I used to, every day in the morning, it was like my breakfast. You woke up and you see dead bodies. You have to develop a mentality that you should not care. Unfortunately, I do. I do care about humanity, and that's the reason why I started what I started. I started my activism actually long before a global secular humanist movement. I work with orphanages and small groups to help small kids who are in the war and everything. I used to teach them English, computer skills, and some mathematics. That is all what I know. So I shared all what I know. Other stuff I suck, so I'm sorry. But and that is what my first activism came from. Is that I looked at the faces of the young children who are affected by, who their parents were executed by either Saddam Hussein or the result of the civil war, and most of these children don't go to school because they have to work. Then I thought of myself, is like, these children, if there was somebody who fought for them before they were born, and we have built a good institutions in Iraq, we have built a good civil society and a good infrastructure, these children would not go to work, they would actually go to school and make a good life. And that was actually the first activism, and guess what? We got attacked by the people of God. They said, like, I also work with some international organizations that do vaccines and stuff, and they said, in the Middle East there's a huge rise, and it's always been the case, I guess, of belief in conspiracy theories. As you know, conspiracy theories like the Jews control everything, and they control the banks, and everything that is wrong in the world is a result of the Jews in America. So, not surprising is that my physics teacher, when I was in school, I was in my high school, what he said is, it was not raining in June. He said that the United States bombed the skies of Iraq, that it does not allow it to rain. And this technology was developed by the Jews. All right? And these people, these militias, believe in conspiracy theories that vaccines are made up by the United States and Zionists or whatever to damage their Muslim youth. They believe that these vaccines are harmful. They are invented by America to kill the people, not to cure them or prevent them from diseases. And we got attacked by the parties of God. And the parties of God, until today, are fighting over a battle that is historical. Anyone knows what is the difference between Sunnis and Shias here? Why these people are fighting?
With the caliphate.
When did that happen? 1,400 years ago.
Yeah.
Today, people like the moment I can show you. Actually, I brought my ID just for, I don't know if it's here. So your ID. This is, by the way, the Iraqi ID. So Donald Trump, this is another struck for him. Is that in your ID, it shows your religion. That thing comes up from the birth certificate, and you get your name of religion by the second day you are born. Okay, so you're labeled a Muslim just because your parents are. That's it, how you're labeled a Muslim. It's not your choice, not anything. It's just that you're 1 year, one day old, and then they have chosen you to become a Muslim. Leave aside that they have chosen you to be circumcised. Is that you are born a Muslim and you cannot leave it. That's it. And the penalty, thankfully, I would say, I mean, that is, I think, one of the only good things about my country would be that we don't have a penalty for apostasy. As a constitutional, I mean, as a constitutional basis, we don't. But the question is, do we actually have a government? We don't. That is the reality of the situation. The government does not control the situation. Everything, at the end of the day that I left Iraq, most of the thing, if not everything, in terms of security is handled actually by the militias. The militias who are the parties of God. The Sunni militias and the Shia militias. They're the ones, and they're the ones who decide the laws. And these are the people who send me the death threats. I mean, that's what I told Vic, like, I told him, like, because I want to stay honest with my audience, is that my atheism is just one of the billions, I think, hundreds of reasons that I got death threats for. I got death threats for so many different reasons. And one of them is working with the international organizations that gave vaccines. Is that why did you work with these evil occupiers, blah, 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 to vaccinate the children? Which I thought of as a good thing, by the way. I mean, I thought I was doing a good job. But not to them. Is that you may actually get a death threat in Iraq from these militias for any reason you may think of. Leave aside that you don't believe in any religion. I mean, the Sunnis kill the Shias, who are also Muslims. I mean, the majority of the victims of this civil war are actually the Muslims themselves. And that is the ironic part of it. Is that the majority of the people that are killed by the Islamic militants are actually Muslims. But the other funny part is that both of them, despite the fact that they kill each other all the time, they are united to kill us. I mean, they have never been united in their lives. But when it comes to atheists, both of them are united. Because we are a common enemy. And I don't yet understand why we are a common enemy to them. I mean, I personally have never advocated for violence, and you can check out my articles and all stuff. Never advocated for violence for my entire life. When I started the first death threat I got for my belief in secularism, I said, simple statement, I said the only way to protect religious diversity in Iraq and to end this religious conflict is to create a secular state and to separate religion from the state, and the government is for everyone and belief is for yourself. I never said we should ban Islam or ban any religion. I simply said, I'm a Jeffersonian, that's what I like to call myself, is I believe in religious freedom. I believe in freedom in general. I believe that freedom is the foundation of all other great things that happen in the world. So I believe in the freedom. I believe in the freedom of religion. What these people think in their mentality, that freedom of religion means you are attacking religion. You want to ban religion. That's what we have now. Even like we have these terms like militant atheist, as if that thing exists. Like there's this funny picture once I posted on my page. Like there is militant Muslim, like a one with a machine gun, and militant Christian also. But militant atheist is the one holding the book. So actually, the word militant, I mean, and here also I come to the second segment of the speak about extremism and militancy, or what we are mostly accused of. Is it true that not all extremism is equal? And that has been something that has been very controversial with many Americans, especially the liberal side, who have accused me of being Islamophobic, and that's why I need to clear this stuff up. I would say, and I make this claim, that not all religions are equally dangerous. This is a statement that I think many atheists do not understand. It's especially on the anti-atheist part, in which they think that all religions So Christianity is the same as Islam, Islam is the same as Judaism, etc. That is not the case. In the 21st century, I would say that Islam is the most dangerous of all religions. I was called an Islamophobic for this. And where this term comes from? From some crackpot who thinks that Islam is a race. So I was accused of being racist, and I'm a hater of brown people, except the fact that I'm brown. Okay? Is that at the beginning, like, because I wrote the article, many people did not, like, I did not post my pictures out there. I actually, since I came to America, I have never posted any picture publicly, nor put my location publicly, and that's mostly for security reasons. So what they thought first, that I'm a white Texan American who hates brown people, and he just wants to make a justification for them. This is what they think. This is where the term Islamophobia comes from, actually. Is that they want to say that they think that the people who always shout the word Islamophobia and things like this, they think that Islam is immune from questioning, immune from criticism. They have been always taught that they have the best software ever. They look at the religion as version 3.0, and Christianity as 2.0, and Judaism 1.0, and atheism -3. Okay? And they think that anyone who has any simple question about why there are the origins of religious extremism or anything of that sort, any types of question or criticism of treatment of women, treatment of gays in Muslim countries, you are directly be labeled as racist by them. And this is actually a very good method to use in the United States, which is a very good method to stop the argument, by the way. I mean, I have seen it used many times here in the States, is that if you lose the argument and you want to end it, just call the other person a racist. And especially if he was a white person. And it really works, by the way. It really works. If there is a white person who is making this argument that I have problems with Islam, I don't think it's a religion of peace, etc. Just label him as a racist, and directly you see the media supporting the guy labeling the white guy as racist. And I want somebody to prove me wrong on this. Because this is my observation of the American media for like the last 3 or 4 years. That the best way to shut down the argument is to call someone a racist. And to call him an attacker of minorities, an attacker of things. It could be correct. There is obviously some hatred of Arabs, for example, or people coming from Pakistan or something like that. I'm not going to deny that these things happen. It does not necessarily come from my people, it may come from everyone. Okay? But there is a difference between Arab and a Muslim. That is something people need to understand. Not all Arabs are Muslims, and the majority of Muslims are not Arabs. That is a matter of fact. The majority of Muslims come from Southeast Asia, not the Middle East. That means if it is true that what these people claim, that anyone who criticizes Islam is a racist, then let's speak about a very simple example, like Pakistan and India. Pakistan and India used to be one country. If it's true that the people who criticize Islam are haters from Greater India, then they should hate Indians equally to the Pakistanis in terms of their ethnicity, but it's not the case. No, we differentiate because Islam is an ideology, not an ethnicity. It is very absurd that so many people in this country believe that it is the case, that Islam is an ethnicity. An attack on a religion is an attack on an ethnic group. And that has been a very major stopper in our discussion about Islam. In our discussion, whenever I go to a speech and write an article about what is happening in Iraq, the situation is this and this, there is this civil war happening between Muslims, blah, blah, blah. And I was directly be labeled as, like the last email I got was, like he said I'm a CIA agent who is undercover Iraqi. This is the conspiracy theories that they make to prove me wrong. That is like their way to prove me wrong. They directly personal attack on me, and they say, "Oh, you're not actually Iraqi. I know you have been in America for like 20 years. I've seen you before." I'm like, "I wish, buddy. I wish that I was in America for the last 20 years, but I wasn't." Is that this has been like since 9/11 until today, there has been huge amount of spending, money, military spending, and wars, and etc. And so far, I don't think the war is over. That means there's something wrong with this war. There's something wrong in the discussion between United States of America and the Western world and Islam. I think I follow the method of Christopher Hitchens and many of the great intellectuals of calling a spade a spade. That's why I'm very direct in what I speak. Is that we should have an honest conversation about the nature of religion and the nature of Islam. Because there are so many people in my country and neighboring countries like Syria and so many other countries that are dying every day because we are not trying to find the solution because of these stoppers that are being used. You are a racist, you cannot talk about Islam, this is immune from criticism, and try to always find different methods. It's like whenever I talk about extremism and like, especially when the Iraq war happened, and like, many people justify terrorism. They say, oh, it's attack on American occupiers and things like this. Okay, let's take this argument. Then why 12 of my gay friends were killed in Iraq? If that is the case, if they say that the Iraqi insurgency is made of people who are defending their nation are from the occupiers. Let's take this, even though I don't consider it an occupation, but anyway, let's take this argument for a while. It is not the case. There is no insurgency in Iraq, actually based upon defending Iraq from the occupiers. And if they were actually caring about Iraq, they would be the first people to attack Saddam Hussein, who has been living there who has been the president for 25 years and the Ba'ath Party for 40 years. No one attacked him. But when the Americans and the Jews came, no! These are the occupiers. It seems to be the case that they are okay with the killing if another Muslim is doing it. Which is sad. Is that we as humanists and rationalists, we look at human life as a human life, and we don't really care. We do our best to protect the human life, to protect the human dignity. But if you look at the bias done within religious faith, and how do they look at religion, my God is better than your God. And my belief, my people are better than your people. And there are people, I mean, it is sad. That's why I always keep mentioning it, because I'm not being the only victim that has lost a brother and a best friend. I'm not the only one. There are many. That's why I don't always mention about my losses in Iraq and how many ghost people that I have lost, because I think that there are people who have lost more. I still remember when, like, I was in school, and one of my friends, he went back home, and he saw all his family killed. All his family. This is a civil war in Iraq. This is what's happening every day. This was the second chapter of my life. I lost my brother. That was in 2007, and I tried to escape Iraq. That was my first attempt to escape the country. That was in September 2009. I went to Lebanon. I said, okay, let's go to Lebanon. From Lebanon, we tried to escape to a Western country. Hopefully, they will accept us. Unfortunately, I applied to the United Kingdom, which was a mistake. Why it was a mistake? They put me for so long on time. so they never gave me any answer during the time that I applied. And after 6 months of waiting, and by the way, treatment in Lebanon is terrible, especially if you are an Iraqi. Is that they don't extension your visa, they treat you like a second-class citizen, etc. And I've been waiting, dying just to go escape death. And then after 6 months, the British embassy tells me, you are rejected. We're sorry, you don't have enough money. And I've been escaping death, like death threats and everything. And my best friend was killed. And I'm like, whenever I go back home, I'm so scared of my life. And not only scared for my life, I'm scared for the people around me. Because these people, the people who send me death threats, do not differentiate between the person they are killing and his friends and his family. You may stand in the middle of the market and they kill you and they kill all the people around you. And they don't give a damn. I don't care myself, I get killed. But the problem is that there are some, that the way that I actually isolated myself just to protect other people from getting killed if I get killed. And I tried again. I went back to Iraq from Lebanon. I went a week, and I also got a death threat. It never runs away from me. I'm like the guy of so many lovers, so many fans, except the obviously global secular humanist movement, who are good fans, but the bad fans are everywhere around me. And I went back to Iraq. I also, thankfully, I should not say thank God, actually. So, thankfully I escaped the kidnap. And I was actually always like, I just needed to stay 1 week. Just if I can go back to Iraq and go back to Lebanon so I can get another visa, get extension, my stay there. And I said, should I go back to this country again? It doesn't seem to be the country that welcomes what I have done. So, since that day, I applied to United States immigration. That was in 2009 and 2010, actually. I applied to United States immigration. And that was the part in my life where I call the exile, in which I had to move from country to a country, just escaping threats from everywhere. And during that period, I started global secular humanist movement. Alone in my room, I created first in Iraq, and I publicized it after like few months. I was the only one. I said, like, am I the only humanist? Am I the only one who thinks this way? I still remember the day, like, I put it on my profile. I said, I created this page with these values and these missions. You can, by the way, check the missions in the website and the page. And it was September 2010. I was proved wrong, actually. Today, it reached 188,000. I thought that I'm the only one who thinks this way. And guess what? From these people, like I started from Iraq, the page. Now the page has about 75 countries, all united to speak one language, which is humanism. That is, I think, the best accomplishment I've done. I know that I may sound arrogant to say it, but I've never done something as good as this one, because I really think that humanism is important. That the applications of humanism and how humanism can affect things like foreign policy, things like economics, things like politics, is that if we look at this world, what is the main principle of humanism? Is that if we look at this world as the only world to live, all our outlook will be changed. If we base our life on delusions, such as religion, obviously, that you look at that there is a heaven and hell and there is a reward and punishment, you lose value to this life. That is common sense. When you think that there is something out there waiting for you, and there is a heaven waiting for you, you would not appreciate this life. And this is actually what we were taught every day in school. That this life is just temporary. It is just a pathway. How much you praise Allah, how much you follow religion as much as you can, you will go to heaven. And if you don't, you go to hell. Is this moral? Is it moral to terrify children with heaven and hell? And people say, why do you speak against religion? And why you are so militant? Because I have lived the effects of what religion does to people. It makes good people. By the way, the people who are committing what is referred to as terrorist actions and barbarism, these people actually believe what they are doing. Suicide bombers believe that what they are doing is good. Otherwise, they would not have done it. Beliefs matter. And we should have a discussion about them. The idea that the discussion about beliefs and a discussion about religion is kind of like a taboo. You should not talk about religion. Shh. It's a taboo. But when religion controls the life, what should we do? What should we do when religion kills people? We should not talk about it too? Why is that religion and that is the thing that is actually kind of ironic, is that when people talk about their political beliefs, like what he just talked and expressed his love for Democrats, he is against Republicans. This is very okay actually to speak it in a public forum in anywhere in the world. But the moment he may say something against Christianity or Islam or something like that, no, it's a taboo. Why don't we treat religious beliefs like political beliefs? I mean, that is always the thing that I've always wondered, is that we have always talked about political beliefs. It's very okay to criticize political leaders, but if you draw a cartoon of the Prophet, you get your embassies burned. And by the way, this was one of the moments of shame to the people who live freedom of expression. I mean, I remember the day of when the cartoon thing happened. And it's exactly something that is similar that happened to me, is that what people started blaming was not the people who burned the embassies or killed the ambassadors, and it was the cartoonist who was blamed. And that is exactly what happened to me when I got my death threats, and I told some people that I got a death threat because of what I write and because of what I do. These people say that I deserved it. You shouldn't say that. Why you are talking this way? This is one of the most shameful feelings, or some shameful belief someone to have, is that, which is victim blaming, is that we have changed our behavior, and and what's surprising, that behavior comes from the United States, in which the First Amendment protects the freedom of expression. Is that the American media, most of the American media, including New York Times, Washington Post, NBC, most of the liberal media, I think also the conservative one, refuse to publish the cartoons because they are afraid. Is this a situation? If the United States of America, and that is one of the things, if the United States of America does not stand for its values, then what is America?
Can I just remind you of something George Orwell said?
Sure. My favorite author, by the way.
In a time of universal truth, in a time of universal deceit, speaking the truth is a revolutionary act.
I totally agree. I love George Orwell, by the way. Yes, I mean, if we are going to have a discussion with the with the countries that we're having the war on terror on, I'm speaking about America versus the Taliban and the others, we need to have an honest discussion about what we really believe in. And they should tell us what they really believe in. We should not treat them as children, but as adults. It is time, I think, for the United States and the Western world to say, you know what, there are things about our country and our values that are not negotiable. Freedom of speech is not negotiable. Our right to express these values, to express whatever we want, to speak whatever we want, is not negotiable. These are things that the Muslim world need to understand. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm speaking too much about the Muslim world, but these are things that the Muslim world need to understand. Otherwise, all what you are doing, all the military spending that you are doing, everything is just a failure because you have no message that you are sending. You remove Saddam Hussein. Let's speak about Iraq again. Saddam Hussein was removed. Okay, the people have been brainwashed for ages to hate, brainwashed for ages to discriminate. Do you think that a war just is the end of the... It was just the beginning. What is really important is the values that you are teaching. If you're gonna do only military option and you leave the educational option, all of the war was lost, and that's what I think. What actually should have been done, in my opinion, is that you not only do the military, you have to build the schools and universities that teach people these values that you hold. Otherwise, it's useless. The people gonna do it again. They're gonna destroy again. These values, that respect for human rights, respect for individual freedom, freedom of expression, etc., etc. These are values that need to be taught. And these are the values that are missing in that part of the world. Respect for freedom of expression is missing. Most of the people in that area where I come from believe in freedom of expression only for themselves. They may have the right to publish, and if you take a look at the Iraqi media, most of the Arab media, they publish a lot of nasty stuff, which are anti-Semitic, anything of hatred, and they have no problem with it. But the moment you publish something like what they publish against them, the moment they're going to start burning embassies and kill ambassadors. And this is a value that actually they follow, is that I believe in a freedom of religion only if that freedom of religion is to me, not to you. And this is when I speak in an article I spoke about the discrimination against atheists and non-believers in the Middle East. Is that there, like now Egypt, for example, we have a person from Egypt here. In Egypt now, because of the Muslim Brotherhood control and the Salafists and others, they have officially recognized religions, and they are the only ones. These are the only religions that are officially recognized. That means you cannot be anything else, which is Islam, Christianity, Coptic Christianity, I think, and there's not Judaism, obviously. I think it's Hinduism or something like that, and others are others. They don't have rights. You have to be one of these three. This is what they call freedom of religion, by the way. I don't think even Hinduism is mentioned. I didn't read the article again, I'm sorry, but it has to be something monotheistic. And I don't think the Jews, because I don't think that they like the Jews. So, so it has to be monotheistic. This is what they mean by freedom of religion. And this is what they mean, what they put in the constitution as a freedom of religion. And that's what had, like, in my KPIT radio, when I spoke about what the word secular means differently, is that when people speak about secular Muslim, it is totally different of what you as Westerners think of what secularism means. To me, as a person, I would say secular Muslim is the only one who does not send me death threat. This is what a secular Muslim is. The secular Muslim still believes in Islam. Whenever you see, and even secular Christian in parts of Lebanon, like Michel Aoun and others, if you are familiar with Lebanese politics, you realize that, like they say that they are secular parties. And that's they get the support of the West. It's like, wow, we have secularism in the Middle East that support them. And they are not, actually. They are only secular. They say that they are secular, but they are actually the total, like there's a total difference. Just like, I mentioned the jokes, like just like getting stoned in America is different than getting stoned in the Middle East. It means totally different things. It means totally different things. And we have this, like in my Washington Post article, when I put the landscape of terrorism, I call landscape of terrorism, and the relationship between belief and terrorism, which also got me so many hateful emails, but it was a good article, is that I don't think that there is, in all religions, and I'm speaking of all religions, especially the monotheistic ones, is that there is no such a thing as a moderate and a fundamentalist, in my opinion. And there's no such a thing as a true Christian or a true Muslim. It's like saying that someone is a true Muslim or true Christian is like saying someone is a true astrologer. There's no such a thing as a true astrologer. Astrology is fiction. No matter how much you believe in it, it's still fiction. So the only way you can measure is how much this person is attached to the ideology itself. So I created a scale from 1 to 10, and I put the 10 as I call them literalist. And the 0, or the 1, would be, I call them cafeteria. So what is the definition of a cafeteria? A cafeteria is someone who, let's say this is the Bible. Okay, so it's like he's going to a cafeteria. Like, so he picks a coffee and a cookie. He doesn't take all the cafeteria. Nobody goes to the cafeteria and takes all of it. He just picks some few stuff. So this is what people refer to as moderate Muslims or moderate Christians. They are the ones who do the cherry picking. That's all. There's no moderation in the Bible or the Quran. They are extreme books. If you read them correctly, they are extreme. The Bible has a lot of violent verses, and the same goes for the Quran. The people who are peaceful, Muslims, people, Christians, are peaceful not because of their religion, but in spite of their religion. That is what we should, when we have the discussion, when people say, like whenever you have a discussion about Muslims and then people, like especially in America, tell you, oh well, I have my girlfriend is a Muslim and she's a good girl and she's not a terrorist. Okay. Just because she's a good person, she's peaceful, doesn't mean that she follows Islam. Just because someone claims to be a Muslim doesn't mean that he is following Islam literally. That I think, also one of my articles, if we try to find a solution, like to Middle Eastern problem and others, the solution for fundamentalist Islam or literalist Islam is not moderate Islam, but no Islam at all. And the same goes for Christianity. It should be humanism. Humanism should be the alternative to religion. It should be the thing that replaces religion. Because I see no solution in hypocrisy. Cafeteria Muslims or Christians are not true to their faith. They cherry pick. They have set of values actually that is actually independent of being Christian. So if they believe in peace, they believe in harmony and diversity and all of these wonderful values, they have it actually from somewhere else. And they do the cherry picking accordingly. So when someone believes in peace, prosperity, diversity and stuff, and wonderful stuff and humanist stuff, then when he reads the Bible, he will start canceling out all the verses that does not coincide with his belief. That means he actually has a belief system before he reads the Bible. And this is the one that we should encourage. We should not encourage the cherry picking. That if you are trying to find moderate voices in the Middle East, it should be the secularists and the humanists, not the people who are cherry picking. Because the cherry picking have no set of principles in the first place. One day they say, I'm against gay marriage. Second day, oh, Jesus loves gays, and we should support gay marriage. This is the cherry picking people. If you want to have an honest discussion with them, you cannot. Every one of them, and I have been in so many debates, every one of them has his own set of principles, and they all claim to be of the same religion. If you ask, like if you see 4 Christians in front of you, or 4 Muslims, and you ask them, what do you actually believe about this? And everyone will give you a different answer. Everyone does his cherry picking differently. I cherry pick this, and I cherry pick that, and the other person cherry pick this, cherry pick that. And therefore, if you are like, what I care mostly about is I care about solutions. I care less about drama and religious drama, especially, is that United States and the Western world, which I think is on its best interest to have a peaceful Middle East and a prosperous Middle East, it should support the right people, at least this time. Because during the whole history of US foreign policy, there have been committed a lot of mistakes. I think many of you know it. That the people you supported, I would say you, I said on the level of government, are not the people who are going to bring that solution. It's time to change what we are looking for. What people we should support. Do they hold these values? Do they believe in the freedom of expression? Do they believe in human rights? Do they believe in women's rights? Otherwise, and like that is one of the most controversial things now about Syria, if you are familiar with the news, is that should we support the rebels? But then a video shows up of a rebel eating a heart of another soldier. I don't know if you have seen the video. But I'm obsessed with these videos because this has been my lifestyle, so it's okay for me to see them. This is now actually what is the Syrian opposition about. So whatever the United States is going to support in this battle is going to support the bad guys, because the good guys were killed. The secularists, and that's why I write an article about the United States intervention should have happened much longer than it does not right now. Because in 2000, when the revolution in Syria happened, that was 2012, there were actually good guys. There were actually people who believed in human rights and believed in making prosperous Syria. The United States missed the chance. That is very unfortunate. And
they did in Iran. Just like they did in Iran when Iranians stepped up at the election time. They backed off and
yes,
let it go to waste.
And now, like the death toll in Syria because of the civil war is 170,000. Religious civil war as well. The same goes for Iraq. As we are neighbors, so we have the same battles. And actually, like, what else I would like to mention? I would like to go for a Q&A because I think there are so many questions I see in your faces, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Faisal. If you could, please recognize, give Faisal a round of applause for the excellent I just wanted to say, just before we do start Q&A, if you could please just keep your questions brief, 30 seconds or less. Please do have a question, and please just stay on point. We are limited on time, so.
All right. Sir.
Well, you know, after the Second World War, we did exactly what you recommend in Nazi Germany. We re-educated the whole generation of Germans. They had the ideology, they were brought up to believe what intolerant Muslims and other intolerant religions believe, with their intolerance towards certain others, and they had to be re-educated. Their schools were. We controlled the army. We occupied Germany for a long time. We still have troops there, and we determined what was going to be taught in the schools. So I think you're right on target.
Yeah, I think the term would be re-education or new education. Yes, exactly. Thank you, sir, for the comment. Yes. Sergio, sorry.
Okay, and maybe I misunderstood when you were explaining, but how many? You sound like you lived through several different countries between Iraq and the United States. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I went to several countries. Well, obviously escaping Iraq.
Right.
I stayed a while in Singapore. I got like a little job there, and I stayed in Malaysia for some studies. And what else? I mean, I also been to Hong Kong. I've been to China. Yeah, I've been to kind of 15 countries. So like I used to work, get the money, and travel somewhere else. So I will not keep a long image in the country, so I get no death threat. That was my security plan. Yes, sir.
As you said about not all Arabs being Muslims, I've met Iranian atheists. I met Pakistani atheists. I met atheists from Palestine.
Just to make clear, Iran and Pakistan are not Arabs.
Well, they're Persian.
Yeah, well, Pakistan is
Pakistan, Urdu and Punjabi.
Yes.
Pashtun, but there's a lot of Muslims there. But anyway, the fact is there are atheists there. But problem we have right now in this country in respect to foreign policy, so much of it is being controlled by corporations, and the clergy has a profound effect on the way we establish foreign policy. I'm skeptical that we could ever establish a foreign policy in any of the Middle East countries that would favor a purely secular outlook. We have elements in this country who are so disposed against secularism, and people like D. James Kennedy or Pat Robertson, these people are avowed enemies of secularism. They hate it as much as any Ayatollah or Sheikh or any guy in the world, extreme Muslim. I was going to ask one question. How much do you know about the situation that happened in Iran with Mohammad Mossadegh? He was a democratically elected.
Yeah, I know about this. But when I mean by foreign policy, I mean I use the general term of foreign policy that it does not necessarily. Well, even though I disagree with you a little bit on the level of cooperation, control of foreign policy, but I would say foreign policy can start from people around here. I mean, if non-profits can build a school in the Middle East, it would be still a school. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be done on a government level. I mean, I believe in the free market, so the free markets you can create a business model or non-profit model to do a solution. It doesn't have to be government-based.
Yeah, we can preempt the efforts of people who would try to sabotage a secular system. That's fine with me.
Yes, I mean the company, not the companies, the organizations that I used to work for are non-profits. The ones who used to do vaccinations for Iraqi children and in the South and so many other parts were non-profits. It was not government-based organizations. So if foreign policy can be done by, I mean, Houston Humanists can send missionaries to to the Middle East one day, but I will take care of the safety. So.
Missionaries, eh?
Yeah, Salvia, go ahead.
What are your future goals for the next 5 years? What do you plan to do?
On a personal level or on the movement level?
On the movement level.
Well, I'm going to make it as a non-profit and as a think tank for humanist studies and humanist research and how to impact the world through the philosophy of humanism. That is a big goal, actually. Hopefully, if God is willing, we're going to achieve it.
Doing pretty good.
Vic?
Yeah, so from your talk, from your writings, and also from our conversations, obviously you're very well read, very educated, fluent in English. Can you share about how you were able to acquire this knowledge, how you were able to be educated coming where you came from?
Well,
from the beginning, if you can. Starting from the beginning, if you can.
From the beginning. Well, I don't have a good memory, but I still remember the first big book I've read of English was for Christopher Hitchens, Letter from a Young Contrarian. It took me 1.5 years to read this book. I was like, this is a sentence, okay, what does it mean? I have to look every word in the dictionary and create lists of every new word, and I used to memorize them all day long. On the level of English, I am pretty much self-educated because the education system in Iraq is very wonderful, that my English teacher himself thinks that English is the language of Satan. And I think that's the reason, why I liked it very much. That is on a language level, and that's the reason I actually also know a little bit of French, and Arabic is my native language, and through English, most of the books of philosophy and science are written in English, and like last year, when I mostly lose hope in the world, I read books. That's what I do. And like last year, because I was so hopeless, because I thought that I'm not going to get United States immigration, I read about like 200 books. So I think most of my knowledge comes from last year, actually.
How are you able to get these books?
During Saddam Hussein, I got actually a letter from Young Contrarian during Saddam Hussein, which was actually banned to get books. The penalty, like death penalty, was for getting books. But how did I get it was, there was a guy who went to Jordan, and I told him, get me the most radical book you can find. I want something radical. Something that is changes thought changing. And he picked this by chance, actually. He doesn't know, he's not a well-read person. It's just like he went to a library in Jordan and said I want the radical book, and they gave him Hitchens' book. And that's how I got Hitchens' book, actually. And after that, after I got this intervention, we got the internet, and most of the books, there are very few bookstores in Iraq. I never go, actually. So most of the stuff are mostly online, like from Kindle and ebooks. Like there was a book there was a website I really recommend called archive.org, which has like collections of all philosophy books from Greek philosophy until like the Enlightenment age. And when I came to the United States, I get my debit card, the first thing I did, I donated like $100. Thank you for all you have done, because they have saved my life in terms of philosophy, because there are very little philosophy books in Iraq. And that was my source. So yes, this is and obviously, angel possessed me or something like that. As they say, you are possessed by an angel, by God, to be educated or to be smart. That's what I used to hear. So that could be a reason. Sure, sir.
Have you made any contact with the International Humanist and Ethical Union?
Yes, I did. Actually, in Iraq, I told them while there are no humanist institutes in Iraq, let's start one. But because of security reasons, they said we cannot. I'm actually planning to do it here in the United States. But I'm connected with Atheist Alliance International and Richard Dawkins Foundation. I'm not connected, but I know some people there probably will be interested. But why the question was for?
Well, my point is that there already does exist, an international organization, and they are working in various countries trying to promote humanism and
well, yes, I mean, we work together, actually. It would be better to work together. For my global secular humanist movement, I've always tried to keep it independent. And we have kind of different approach to things than what the mainstream humanist organizations do. But we agree on most points. But I personally, myself prefer, because I come from an IT and philosophy and macroeconomics background, I plan to do all on these levels. That it has to be, that humanism can be spread through technology, can be spread through economic solution and philosophical solution. And they do not have, they have a different point of view of how to deal with this situation. For me, that's why, my page got about 30 times followers than they do. It's because their approach is different. My approach is technology-based, and as I said, research-based, and to be like, but we do the same thing. I mean, more is better, to be honest. I mean, I wish them all the best. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you get political asylum?
Yes, I did. Yes, that was 2 months ago. I left the United States like 12th of March. So that,
once you get the political asylum, what's the status? Are you now a legal resident? Or?
Yes, I am legal. Yes.
Ah, okay.
I got my Social Security and all my papers done after. That was actually the first thing I did when I came to the United States. Like I want to get a job immediately and apply for Social Security. And yes, I'm legal. So it's a political asylum, and within a few years of residency in the United States, I can become a citizen. So this is my new home. Yes, madam.
Are your parents still in Iraq? And what do they feel about? What does your family feel about your activism?
Well, they're okay. They're okay with it. They think that they are like indifferent, pretty much about religion. I mean, I would call them spiritual, but not religious, if that term actually exists. But they think that I am like too radical or too militant and things like this, and like don't do this and don't do this. But yeah, I mean, this has been like in my family, everyone is kind of independent, has his own mindset, and mine is kind of different than they are. So yes, and I visit them from time to time. Any more? Yes, ma'am.
When you were growing up in Iraq, did you ever get the sense that opinions were changing or becoming open to being more progressive with the newer generations, or does everything sort of seem mired in the same mindset?
Well, that's a very good question. Yes. Yes. The difference is that now more people have opinions than they do before. Because if you have an opinion during Saddam Hussein, which was opposite to the mainstream, you got killed. Now, the difference is that also you got killed if you express an opinion now in Iraq, but the difference is that you have internet. And internet now, like I browse Iraqi pages, Iraqi websites from time to time, and on the level of progressive and liberal, well, I mean, very small changes. Not the idea of liberalism and secular thought is not very much prevalent in Iraq at the moment because the parties of God don't allow such ideas to flourish. But there are. I mean, there are. But most of the. I mean, one of the projects I started is called secularpost.net, which is to create an open source journalist platform for people from limited freedom of speech to publish their secular ideas, secular thoughts. And some of the people were from Iraq. So they sent me the article in Arabic, and I translated that and put it on the website. So you can check them out. There are like some very progressive and humanist views as well, but still a minority. I mean, not prevalent. Any more questions?
What do you think about the Prime Minister and his government in Iraq? Are they trying to do the right things, or?
You mean al-Maliki, the current Prime Minister? Well, I don't think so. No. Is that al-Maliki is a Shia, and not only Shia. He's a political Shia. That means that their party is religious, and I've told you my views before. I don't think religious people can bring a solution. And they're actually, I mean, now the rise of the civil war in Iraq, which I would call the rebirth of the civil war, is mainly because of political religious parties. It's because the Maliki and his party does not allow the Sunnis to participate in the democratic platform, and they got pissed off and they started killing each other. So he's part of the problem, actually, unfortunately.
Is there anyone who's not?
Huh?
Is there anybody there who is not?
Who is not a part of the problem? Well, I mean, there are some, but the problem is not that you have the politician, but how you get this politician into the office. That is the difficult part. I mean, we do have actually secular parties in Iraq, but these secular parties get less than 2% of the votes. If you want to understand Iraqi elections, just look at the demographics. Sunnis vote for Sunnis, Shias vote for Shias, Kurds vote for Kurds. That is Iraqi elections. That's how it works. So you get the secular parties. They are minority. Nobody gonna vote for them. If you want to do it through democratic process, it's gonna take ages. But now, yes. So the solution may take centuries. I don't know, to be honest. I cannot give you like a direct answer because I don't know the answer myself. Sure.
I was just wondering about like when he brought up Malaki about Mutar al-Sadr and the Iranian influence of al-Sadr and his
yeah.
As far as, you know, not helping the country, you know, because we already know Malaki what he's going to do. He's like looking at that wall, it's there, and he's going to do what he's been doing. But al-Sadr has so much control and followers from the Iranian side of the Shiite situation to help try to make this work out for the people. It's pretty sad that, you know, all these beautiful people that have been held down through the Saddam era, and now all these other people. And I know it took our country hundreds of years to be able to morph to where we are now, and so it's going to take them also even chasing the past. But I just was wondering about how much influence that is that's not helping the situation there by the Iranian influence and him being such a powerful cleric. And then, you know, he even seems to have a little control on al-Sadr, on Malaki too. So I just was wondering, as far as, you know, for the people.
Yeah,
all these different sharks pulling at their arms and limbs and stuff to try to be civil and live nice.
Yeah, it's like he is not the only one. The thing is, you have Iraq in the middle, and you have Saudi Arabia in the west and Iran on the east, and both sides support both militias to kill each other. Is that one of the reasons why Muqtada Sadr gets so much popularity is because of his father. His father was one of the main intellectual Shias, clerics, and he just got the power from that. And leave aside that his militia is the one that protected the Shias from the Sunni militias. So that gave him a lot of power. It's like, I'm defending you from the other guys, kind of behavior. And he's obviously supported by Iran. And the same goes for the Sunni militia supported by Saudi Arabia. So we Iraqis are stuck in the middle.
Exactly.
Between.
And that was the brunt of my question. Was, you know,
yeah, and that was one of the reasons.
All these poor people, and you were part of it, of the trap situation. You know.
Yes, I mean you're stuck in the middle. Like you as an unbeliever, you're stuck in the middle of two people killing each other, and you may get killed in the middle. This is the situation that I was in.
It just bothers me, all the children, all the
yeah.
I mean, do for their country in the future. So that's why I believe
it's a frightening. I mean, I had a lot of days of depression, and because of what I saw. I mean, it's devastating. These people, their level of barbarism is
impressive.
Yes, I mean, I sorry to tell this, but it was like you spoke about children, and so as I told you, like in the ID they show you the religion and stuff. So there was a militia. So I was going to a school, and the militia stopped like an 8-year-old girl, and he asked her, what are you, a Sunni or a Shia? Give me your ID. And she was beheaded in the streets because she doesn't belong in the same sect that the militia was holding.
Right.
Yeah, this is the situation. I mean,
because when it all boils down to it, all of the problems that we see going on and stuff, to me, it's all about the children in every country. And
yeah,
certain people
everyone is
affected.
affected.
Thousands of years don't want to relinquish it even for their own children and the betterment of their country. So
and the mom and the dad. I mean, I still remember when I go to school, and my mom used to call me all the time because she doesn't know whether I'm gonna come back or not. Is that is a feeling of the mother? Like, think about the children and their parents. Is that you send your child to a school and you don't know whether you're gonna come back or not.
This is a little off subject, but how common is it for children to be forced into marriage? Girls into marriage at young ages?
Well, in Iraq, it's in the capital city. I don't think that like this thing exists of forced marriages, but there is. I would say in the south probably because I'm personally from the capital city, and
Or-
it's we let's call it a liberal. Even though I explain what does the meaning there, is that there is no. It's more prevalent in countries like Yemen
Right.
than it is in Iraq. I think Saudi Arabia as well, but in Iraq we don't have this. Probably maybe cousin partnership or things like this. In the tribal areas in Western Iraq, that thing is probably very prevalent.
You believe that it's accepted because of the Quran? Because of what Muhammad did? Is that why it's accepted?
No, it's pretty much tribal.
Right, it's all.
Is that what I think of religion, whether it was Christianity or Islam, is simply codified the culture. Is that these are the things that are written in the Quran and the Bible. They were done hundreds and hundreds of years ago, even before the Bible was written. I mean, Jesus was not the only one who was crucified. There were so many people, if you believe in crucifixion, by the way, which I don't think I do, but so many people were crucified. So these kind of behaviors of that are mentioned in the Quran and the Bible were the prevalent thing of that culture during that time.
Right.
So it probably...
We could just do one or two more questions and then wrap things up.
Yeah, I don't know if I forgot someone from the left side. Yes, right side or yes, the Muhammad, I think.
It's your thoughts about humanist movement in Arabic world.
In where?
In the Arab world.
Arab world. Is there a humanist movement in the Arab world? Well, yes. I mean that's what I've been working on, to be honest. For since I created I'm trying to recruit as many people as possible, and we create there are people which I call partner pages. Is that I like any humanist I find, I create them a page in my page and share it on my page so they can get fans from that country, and then try to organize. For Arab world, I started one in Algeria and Morocco and Syria. These are the countries that I worked on, not on the whole Arab world, but there is. Now, thankfully, with the internet and technology, many people can organize and can look for fellow humanists in the country, and that's what I'm participating in doing. I mean, I will do my best to make sure that there is a prevalent humanist group in the Arab world and all the world. I mean, that's what I do.
Do you have any statistics?
Statistics. Well, who can claim to be a humanist in the Middle East?
Right.
If you ask me, like, if I was in Iraq and you ask me, are you an atheist? And this statistics is done by a Muslim university or something. If I want to save my life, I would say no. I would say I'm a Muslim. I mean, you've got to save your life in one or another. If you, yes, sure. Who's? Can I get them, madam? Here? Yes.
My question is, do you have any advice on how to engage people who I guess you might classify as a Islam apologist, or someone who isn't familiar with some of the more dangerous parts of the ideology and just maybe want to dismiss you as being bigoted or whatever? Do you have any advice for how to sort of get the guard down so you can actually have that conversation?
Yes. Well, first tell them to read the Quran. That's number one. And number two, tell them that what you're having is simply intellectual, ideological discussion. What you are having, what you dislike or what you disagree on, is not the race of, is not the race of the people that are Muslim, but their ideology. And if he will say something else, then that means this person gets a low IQ, which I think most of the Muslim apologists do, by the way. So just tell them the verses that really advocate for violence, and tell them, explain this to me. Why you think these verses of violence do not mean what they mean. The explanation has to be done by the apologist, not by the one making the claim. So they've got so much explanation to do, and they are the ones who actually lost the discussion. I think many people now are realizing regardless of whether Islam or other many different religions, because of the media and the globalization and how we process information, we now get to know about what's happening around the world all the time. So while you're living in America, you can hear about what is done in Afghanistan to women in Afghanistan, and you can form an opinion accordingly. Are the women treated in the Muslim world? Before, that was not the case, but now technology can bring the information together for people to understand the applications of thought, the applications of religions and ideologies. So the evidence is all there to prove that the Muslim apologists are wrong. Yes, who?
Yeah, I think we better wrap it up. So, yeah. All right, thanks again to Faisal for an amazing talk, and thanks to everybody else for coming as well. We will actually see you all a little less than a month from now on June 15th. Same building. It's going to be actually in the annex, a different room. Our guest presenters that day are actually here in the audience right now. Brenda Lunger and Lori Griffith in the back there. You can wave. Yeah, they will be presenting a presentation called Gender 101 about gender identity issues. And they actually gave this talk about a month ago at Oasis, but that was actually an abbreviated version. This will actually be the full-length talk with additional content. So yeah, again, thanks to everybody for coming. If you don't mind, just helping out with the chairs, if you don't mind putting them up on the rack. Yeah, feel free to stay in here and socialize or whatever, at least until they ask us to leave. So, thanks.